Hey guys, welcome to the software engineering channel. So, just a quick deviation before we get right into what we have today. If you piggyback through the previous contents we have on this channel, you will notice that there are hands-on practical stuff, right, which takes an enormous time to churn out, right, and that is affecting the channel a little bit because the algorithm doesn't favor that type of setting in most cases. Hence the reason for short videos like this. The idea is to churn out videos like this intermittently while I prepare for the technical stuff, right? So the technical stuff are still going to come out as usual, but this type of short videos are going to make the keep the channel alive while the major stuff comes in. I hope you get that. Let's dive right into what we have today. So I felt this type of knowledge isn't esoteric amongst software engineers until I saw a couple of people trying to solve a problem within the application. And I'm like, nah, there has to be a particular mindset, and there has to be a better approach in trying to solve problems with application. I understand the eagerness in wanting to get off that stage, but at the end of the day, those type of pattern or those type of mindset eventually puts you into trouble, especially when it's a Friday and soup and your application is going to production. Right. So hence the reason why we're talking about this subject matter today, right? It's not necessarily me teaching you what you don't know or telling you what you don't know, but it's just basically instilling some form of mindset, some form of pattern that you can follow, which is cross-cutting regardless of what you write, regardless of what language you write. It's cross-cutting, right? And these are not going to solve your problems. They are not going to immediately help you make your application run, right? But it's just going to get you to see what the actual problem is, and it's going to also help you find a lasting solution. You get what I'm saying? Hence the reason why we're having this conversation, right? All right, so the first step is for you to actually figure out what the problem is. All right, this is obvious, but can be very tricky when you have applications that has multiple dependencies, multiple connected libraries. All right, and for projects like that, you'd usually have cascaded issues, right? So when you see a particular error message, it might not be the exact thing that is causing your application to fail, right? It might be that there is a particular library that is connected to this library that is throwing an error, and you can have over 10 to in their tens and in their hundreds of libraries that is cascading errors and making your application to shut down. So it is your own duty to do due diligence of actually decluttering your dependencies and spotting out which exact one is causing the application to fail. Do you get what I'm saying? Not looking out for, not focusing on errors that are caused by cascaded dependencies. That might be time wasting, especially when you don't have that time, right? So when you see an error, maybe as a newbie, you might not be able to tell the difference between cascaded errors and actual errors, right? So if you see an error, you should be able to tell, as time goes on, you go into it, you should be able to tell that this particular error is caused because of other connected dependencies. Yes, there is a problem somewhere, but what you're saying, the error message you're saying, is not the issue. Do you get what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. If you write .NET Core and if you have issues with, if you forget to register a particular dependency, and you run the application. The error message .NET Core is going to give you, which is quite graceful, is dependencies are yet to be resolved, something like that. All right. It's not going to tell you which particular dependency, which particular service is unresolved. So it is your duty to scroll down the stack trace and see if you can have a clue of what dependency to check out with. So the error message is not the exact thing. It's not what's causing it. And that's even like a very scaled down version compared to this type of errors I'm talking about. The second step is to isolate the problem, pull it out from your project, right? So if you've been able to nail down what the exact issue is, if it's a syntax error is just basically when you're not following the rules of writing the language. Maybe because you write too many language, or you're using or you're using JavaScript. JavaScript terminology in C Sharp, right? So that's a syntax error. If it's syntax error, you might not need to do any isolation. You might just need to correct whatever the issue is on the fly, and you're good. But if it's a logical error, that's basically when you've written everything correctly, but the result you're getting is not the expected result. That's more tricky. For those type of issues, you might need to isolate them. You might need to go this step further to pull them out from your project. And the reason why I advise isolation is because it might be very difficult for you to solve the problem within your project, right? Because before you get to the body of logic itself, you might have to go through connected dependencies. Let's say you're writing, let's say, three-tier architecture. You have multiple projects within a particular project. You go through your controller, you go through your service. For you to have multiple services, from services, you go through your position, all of those things, right? And what is causing your problem is in a particular service. Let's say the logic to retrieve all users' cards, all right, all users' card information. All right. So what you just need to do, instead of trying to solve the problem within that body of code base, what you just need to do is to basically pick out that logic and extract it into a new project. For me, what I would usually do is to extract it into a console application in C Sharp. And if it's JavaScript, I'll just basically just pull out a new JavaScript file and just extract that body of logic into that new file so that I can focus squarely on that body of logic without distraction, without dependencies, without having to intermeddle with multiple dependencies, right? So that helps you. That helps you nail down the problem very quickly and sort it out. It's as simple as that. And the very last step, I think I'm more interested in this step, is don't just solve the problem, find a lasting solution. All right. I know, because of the want or desire to leave that stress space, to leave that stressed, you just want the application to work, you want to package it up and hand it over to your CI/CD pipeline to push it up there. But you're gonna come back, bro. Yeah, you're gonna come back, right? So instead of doing that quick fix, that quick and dirty fix, you need to actually find a lasting solution, right? And this is what separates the men from the boys. I tell you, man. So separate men from the boys. You might need to think about different edge cases, right? You might need to think about different edge cases where issues can come up again, and you might need to handle those. This is where your understanding of solid principles, design patterns comes into play. You might need to, maybe the body of logic is too large. You might need to separate concerns. You might need to use different design patterns to make the logic more simpler, so you don't have unnecessary complications. There are a lot of things you might need to do. You might not want to just solve the problem and push up there, right? That's still going to cause a problem, right? So this is where you actually need to be very calm and use the understanding that you have with design patterns, solid principles to actually attend to that problem so it doesn't happen again. All right. And there's one more. There's one more actually. And this one is quite interesting. When you find out that you've done all you could do and you're unable to detect where the problem is coming from, or you've detected where the problem is coming from and you're unable to resolve the problem, you just stand up and walk away. I don't mean leave the company. I mean just get up and do something else, right? It could be taking a power nap. It could be just walking away. I can't explain to you how this works scientifically, why it always works. But the simplest explanation I can give is walking away has a way of freeing your mind. It has a way of decluttering your brain and your mind. So your active thoughts at that point is not focused on the problem, because focusing so much critically on the problem has a way of blindfolding you from even seeing what you would have seen on a normal day. So the judgment is biased. You're so eager to solve the problem and you are not doing nothing. You're not making progress. So just walk away, take some coffee break, talk with your friends, laugh out loud if that's your thing. Just do something else. You will be shocked that once you come back, in fact, you'd have to ask your friend if you were the one working on that project, because you would immediately spot out the problem. And it doesn't mean this is like a superpower. It always work. You might still have to come back and still spend some time. But my point is, you are going to come back with a more clear space, with a more clear head. And there is a higher chance of you spotting out what the problem is very quickly. I hope you've been able to learn a lot from all of this process. As I said, I mean, writing good software is a mindset. It's not necessarily with the code. It's a mindset that you would have to embody. All right. And yeah, that's why we're having sort of conversations like this. If you're checking out this channel for the first time, do well to subscribe so you can get notified. There are a lot of technical contents that are going to be coming up. The most interesting one of them is ISO 8583. Just stumbled on that problem and I'm really digging into it. And I hope to churn out contents on that. And there are also other episodes, series, building ngrok clone with Rust that I've left for a while now. I'm actively doing research on that and I'm still going to be churning out those type of content. So do well to subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Cheers. Bye.